Hey, Dave Murren von Evers here with the Bartender's Handshake. I'm going to run you through our cocktail for Capital City Pride and Pride Week using Tito's handmade vodka. We're calling it the Last Days of Disco. It's going to be a light, refreshing, but still boozy cocktail. So when we had the opportunity to come up with this drink using Tito's handmade vodka, we had a lot of directions we could go in, as vodka is very versatile. So we played around with a lot of things, but we liked where we ended up. Just something that's light on the palate, but definitely packs a punch. So beyond Tito's, we're also going to use Grand Marnier that has been infused with kaffir lime leaves that we picked up and you can find down at Allspice in the East Village here in Des Moines. It's just going to bring a light, kind of lifting citrus note, kind of a zing on the palate too. It almost makes my tongue tingle. We're also using D'Orange vermouth. It's a really cool small batch, small producer vermouth with lots of orange flavors as well as some warming spices. Coconut water, it's going to keep you hydrated, but also just adds like a nice little salinity and roundness to the drink. And we top it with a very light, refreshing Vinho Verde from Portugal. So it's going to be light, bright, easy to drink, and refreshing. So we'll jump into it. We're going to stir this on ice and strain it into a cocktail glass here. Making things at home, I always start with our smallest ingredients, just in case we make a mistake, then we don't have to waste the Tito's that is going to be our main ingredient. So we're starting with the vermouth, just 1/4 ounce, just to add a little bit of that citrusy punch. Moving on up with the coconut water, we're doing 1/2 ounce of coconut water. This is a really cool ingredient to use in cocktails. I often forget to use it. So my bartender friend Ray Doyle, who actually came up with this recipe, was smart enough to reach for coconut water. It's great if you're making a non-alcoholic drink too. It adds a lot of depth to the drink. So we did 1/2 ounce of that. We've got this infused, kaffir lime infused Grand Marnier. We're going to do 1/2 ounce of that. And then the main spirit are Tito's, 1.5 ounces. So mostly booze, but we're not going to kill you with like 3 ounces of vodka. We're going to keep it light so you can have more than one and stay hydrated. And then we're going to add this chilled Vinho Verde at the end. When you first open that bottle, it's got a nice slight effervescence that we want to keep as much as we can without stirring it together with everything else. And we're going to add lots of ice. These guys real quick. Give her a stir. So when we're straining off of the ice, we want to make sure we stir it nice and long so it gets properly diluted and chilled to stand up to the heat outside in the summertime for Pride. And that is usually around 20 seconds or so, depending on the ice you're using. We're using big old cubed ice, so it takes a little longer to dilute. That should be good. Strain this out here. Really nice pale color to it, golden in the summer days. And we're just going to top it with about 1 ounce of Vinho Verde. And this is something you can kind of do a little bit more, a little bit less. This is how much we're going to be using to keep it nice and fresh. Just a little stir to incorporate. And then that's it. It's simple and sophisticated. We're going to serve it naked, no garnish. Cheers.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us again today. I'm Sarah Middleton with Capital City Pride, and we are excited to bring another virtual dinner party and cooking learning experience to you tonight for the second week. We would really like to extend a big thank you to Facebook for sponsoring this and making it all possible, as well as Meredith's Test Kitchen for letting us use this beautiful space. And especially Chef Ben Hayes for being here again and hosting us with some wonderful food.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, guys. Obviously, it's good to be able to hang out and cook some food together. So today, we're going to be doing something that's called Farm and Country. So we're gonna do a little 3-course. We're gonna pair it with some awesome wines that Sarah's got. And I'm just gonna take you through it just real quick a little bit so we get kind of a lay of the land. And so, like I said, we have 3 courses, and the first one's gonna be a blini. And what's a blini? It's a mini pancake, but it's just a little fancier. We got some cornmeal, got some other things in there other than just flour. There's some rye flour and some other flavors. But we're gonna top that, right? So we're gonna take this little pancake and we're gonna top it with some crema, a nice creamy sauce. And then I've got some sous vide asparagus, and we also have some roasted mushrooms.
Ooh.
So with that farming country, we're really trying to focus on taking the bounty that is in a natural surplus during this time period, pick it at its peak freshness, and then try to enhance it the best that we can. So that's where that first course really comes into play. And then once we do the blinis, we're going to move on to what we call cones. And what those are is it's like a tweel, and we're going to turn them into like a cone type shape. So this is going to be kind of like a finger food party, but we're going to take those cones and we're going to stuff them. We're going to stuff them with some beef, being Iowa, and we're also going to stuff it with also some mushrooms and garlic to kind of give some backbone to that beef as well. And then finally, I'm very excited for dessert for us to be able to kind of work together to produce that, and that is it's a trifle. And so a trifle is an old school type thing. It's usually like a bowl that's glass, and you can see all like the layers of whipped cream and then some other stuff like angel food cake. Ours is going to be a little different. So we're going to do an apple banana bread. We're also going to be doing a dulce de leche for a sauce. We're going to saute some of these apples that are in season right now, these Honeycrisp, and then we're going to finish it off with the meringue crunch to give it a little bit of texture.
Nice.
Wow. So it should be pretty fun for us today, guys.
Oh, this sounds fantastic.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, let's get into it if you guys are ready. That sound good? Cool. Well, the first thing that we want to do, guys, is get all of our equipment and our ingredients ready. And so we're going to start off with the blini. And like I said, it's a pancake, but we're going to make it real nice and small so it's an appetizer size. And so what we're going to do is we're going to prep it out, we're going to scale our dry mix, and then we're going to then scale our wet ingredients. And what that means is we're just going to measure them out. And so what we've done is we've taken our flour, our cornmeal, all of our other salt and baking powder, and we put that together. And so we're going to go ahead and then put that into the mixing bowl. As you can see there, we're just going to take that and then we're going to mix it all up so it's evenly incorporated. And now that our dry is evenly incorporated, we're going to go ahead and add the wet. So what we have here is some milk, and we just dropped a little bit of eggshell in there,
I always do that.
which happens all the time.
Yeah.
No sweat at all. So what we're going to do one of the hacks, the best hack that you can figure out instead of strainer is use the same eggshell.
Yeah.
The eggshell will pull back up. There's a problem. It's in milk. It's harder to see. So the reality is we're just going to have to be really careful. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and strain it out like this. Little secret. But you know what? If you got a strainer or anything else, you can do the same. Got that shell. No big deal. Happens all the time, guys. So now that we've got our wet and dry together, there's only one last component, which is some oil. That's going to give it some of that mouthfeel. Just like when you're making a pancake batter at home, you add an egg and some oil, right? This here from Allspice, some infused oil that they have, instead of just using like a vegetable or an olive, this is garlic infused.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You guys get a little whiff of that.
I
Pass
keep that
around
garlic
a little bit.
infused.
Go ahead and take a sniff. I mean, you can see how that's going to contribute already to the flavor of the dish.
It's delicious.
Garlic is one of those things which can be kind of strong, but it's going to enhance the asparagus and the mushrooms. So we're going to add a couple tablespoons in there. And then what we're going to do is just give this a nice mix.
I do have a question about, I know you use milk, and a lot of times I might have skim milk, or I might have almond milk, or, I mean, when you cook, does it matter? Is it better to use whole milk? Is it better to use 2%?
Sure.
What do you usually suggest?
So I would stick with whole for the most part.
Okay.
There's times when you can switch it up, but when you're starting to deal with the milk fat percentages, let me just say pretty quick that like whole milk is 3.25%, 2% is 2.
Right.
You got 1% you have skim. So those percentages do make a big difference though, right? So I would stick to the 3.25. If you start going to 2% or skim, it's going to change how things come out. You're changing the amount of fat that's in those dishes. So for the most part, if a dish calls for something, I would stick with it.
Okay.
If you make swaps and stuff, you can do it. But if you look at skim milk versus like heavy cream or even whole milk, the consistency is much different. So
Got it.
So we have mixed up that blini batter. It looks a little thin right now. I'm gonna set it off to the side. I'm gonna let it slake. And slake is gonna let those dry ingredients kind of absorb some of those wet so it all comes together. Sometimes you're gonna do your batter, and bless you. And it's gonna be looser or thinner sometimes, right? And so like this one here, we wanna let it do its thing. Instead of just like adding more cornmeal or flour to it right off the bat, you gotta let that absorb, kind of come together. That looks a little thin right now though. So what we're gonna do is let that set off to the side and do its thing.
It smells
I know it does.
I'm like, oh.
Well, it's good. I'm glad it does. It's that garlic and everything else got some good flavors working. What we're gonna do while that is slaking or kind of setting to the side is get the asparagus ready, right? So when we talk sous vide, let's take away the pretentiousness that comes with the French style cooking. Under vacuum is what sous vide means. And under vacuum basically is you're putting it into a bag and you're cooking it. You can put flavors in it, but you're cooking it in its own juice. So that's what we're gonna do just quickly is I'm gonna teach you a little bit about asparagus first. So most people know it, you can find it wild, but like how do you know where to trim it? And what size do you look for in a store? Stay away from the really thin stuff. It doesn't cook well. It doesn't. You can, it's just hard to cook right. You wanna find something that's about the size, a little smaller on your finger. Those are the best size pieces in my opinion. You got these long pieces, you want them consistent in size. You're not gonna probably serve that whole thing. Down at the bottom, it's a little bit more weight. In order to figure out where you wanna cut it off, just where does it naturally break? Find out where it naturally breaks, then put it with the rest of the bunch. And then that'll give you your point to where you might wanna just go ahead and remove those. So that's all your woody pieces. Could you save this for something? Sure. Could you put it out in your garden for compost, whatever? Sure. But that way at least you've got this trimmed down. And those are now ready to be put into the vac bag. And so you can actually do sous vide and just even Ziploc bags, but instead you can, if you got a vacuum sealer, what you're gonna do is end up putting your asparagus just quickly right in the bag. Throw a little bit of butter or some oil if you'd like. And then we'll take a couple strips of lemon peel, which I've got here. And then we're just gonna throw those in the bag. We got a little bit of salt. And then what we're gonna do is put this into the vacuum. That's gonna pull out all the air, right? And so that's gonna make it safe for us to work with. But it's also going to, is this cooks only in its own juice. So asparagus never tastes more like asparagus than it probably does in sous vide. So for the sake and intents of being able to get this done in time, this asparagus has been cooking at 185 for about 20 minutes, okay? And so you can feel how tender it is inside of the bag. So I'm gonna pop this bag to allow these to just kind of to breathe a little bit. Now that they've kind of infused with some flavor and things, this has got, like I said, the butter, the salt, the lemon, and asparagus. And so this is a really cool way to do it. Grilling asparagus is probably the best way to do asparagus, the simplest approach possible. But this is a fun way to introduce people to sous vide. What's another great thing about it, guys, is entertaining. Like this is a hands-off approach, right? So that way you can kind of get this done, get this bag done a day in advance, then just drop it in your water. It's good to go.
That's amazing.
So while that's kind of sitting off to the side and getting happy, we're gonna focus on a couple other components then that goes in with this blini. So we've got that blini batter off to the side, we've got the asparagus. What we need to focus on next is the mushrooms. So these are shiitake mushrooms, and you guys maybe have seen these in the store. You might have seen them in the Asian store, especially dry. What do you need to know about shiitakes versus other mushrooms? And that's going to be is that the stems are pretty much worthless for most of the stuff you're gonna do at home. So what you need to do is just pop that stem off. And if you grab that cap, you can grab it between your fingers like that. That's kind of a little cheap, and that'll kind of just pull them right out. If it breaks in half, it's not a huge deal either. But so what we want to do is we want to basically destem these mushrooms, so then we can roast these. Mushrooms, sauteing or roasting or grilling, doing something to keep it as simple as possible, but to enhance the natural flavor since these are in season is what we're looking for, okay? And so taking these, getting the stems off, I'll show you real quickly. You can just roast these whole and then slice them afterwards. Or you can just go ahead. Yeah, let's just get that going. Cool. Okay.
Oh, it just smells, everything smells so good already.
So that's what we're gonna do real quick. This is getting a pan. It's warming up right now. We're gonna get it over kind of that sweet spot. Medium high. What we're looking for is some sizzle. We're looking to actually saute these guys. We want to get some flavor out of this, okay? So as I said, we've got the bleeding batter sitting off to the side. We've got that asparagus. And so now that pan is heating up, let's go ahead and take our mushrooms and get those in. Notice I didn't put any oil in right off the bat. It's because, it's a tendency of it's hard to drop mushrooms in soft. I don't want to put oil in there and drop mushrooms in and splatter the oil.
Oh.
Got it.
Put those in first, and then two, instead of it the oil not being up to temperature, I can put those in, the pan continues to heat, and then when I add the oil, it doesn't drop the temperature very much. So, got a little that infused oil, tablespoon or so. And so, while that's cooking, there's one other component. When we're putting something together, whether it's a sandwich or any type of a dish, there's things that are the tie-ins, right? What does it bring it together? So we've got these wonderful items from the farming country. We've got mushrooms, we've got asparagus, but we're gonna do something a little bit different, and that involves a product that is unique, and that's black lime.
Ooh.
So, probably go ahead and ask questions. Hey, chef, what's black lime?
Yeah.
People ask me anytime I use a chef bed, what's the deal with this black lime? What's it smell like? Go ahead and pass that around too.
Oh my gosh.
To me, it smells like Filipino lemon. This
Right.
lime is, it's almost fermented, it's aged, dried, powdered. And so it just adds an immense flavor.
Like a real big, peppery lime.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna actually use that to enhance.
So where would you get that?
So, always go local. See if your local guys can get it. Sometimes they can't. This is something that's rather new.
Okay.
At least it's new to me. I'm always looking for something that might be a little bit different, something special to enhance our local products. This came from Burlap and Barrel, which is an online they're a company that's online, but they really try to find these small people. These people in these small countries where they get some of the best cinnamon that's possible. Where they get the best black lime. There's all these new things that are coming out too, even fermented locust beans, which I never worked with before, but it sounds like some of the chefs in Denver and Portland where they really get it and they're on the cutting edge. They're using some of these things. So this one this is a product that's from Guatemala too. So it's something that they use down there for a lot of their dishes. We can use it in a lot of different ways. It's good for adding in just a bright, fresh pot, or you can use it for stews and let it kind of mellow and cook all the way through.
Now, if I couldn't get my hands on this, could I do some kind of substitution where I'm sure not going to have exactly the same thing, but maybe finishing with lime juice so that you're getting kind of a strong, or adding some pepper?
Sure. I would, kind of like what those notes you guys picked up on, I would stick with black pepper like a lime zest.
Okay.
And that way you can kind of get it. The lime, it's going to be a little drier, but that's what we did. So I took some cream cheese and I softened it up, right? So what is a crema? A crema is basically, it's a cream cheese, it's got other flavorings in it, so that's why it's not just cream cheese, but we've taken cream cheese and we have softened it up, right? So it gets nice and just the ability to spread really well. And then we've added all these great things into our crema. Black garlic is one of those things. So we talked about the black lime. The black garlic's the other thing that really gives it a lot of backbone. In my kitchens, I use a lot of granulated garlic because that's really one of those things where you don't have to add salt. You can get a lot of flavor from it. Black garlic is one of these things where it's garlic that has been kind of toned down a little bit, but also amped up, if that makes any sense at all. It's mellower, but it's deeper in flavor. So anyway, that's kind of what the drive is behind it. So we've taken that cream cheese and whipped it up, and we've got that black garlic, black lime in there. Can't really pick up on a whole lot of those smells in there, but the flavor-wise, it's really good. So what we've done here now is just we've got it to where we're starting to soften it a little bit. Pulled it out of the fridge for a couple minutes after whipping it up this morning, and now it's really in a spreadable condition. If you can do this a day ahead, this would be one of those things to do a day ahead. It's kind of like chili, where if you can get it done, let it sit in the cooler, the flavors really bloom a lot. So, and it looks like here, guys, that I'm sure you're smelling it.
Yeah.
The shiitake mushrooms they're coming out really nice. And how do you know when they're done? We're looking for GBD, golden brown delicious. You'll hear me say it a lot. But that's really what we're looking for. We want to get a caramelization on the mushrooms. We want to get some browning on it, especially these shiitakes, we don't want to leave them pale. So I've killed the heat. These are actually just, they're completely good to go now. So, at this point, it's a matter of going back and then checking that bleeding batter. So, talking about slaking, this has started to come up just a little bit, but the reality is, this is just a touch thin. This is not going to hold up well enough. So, while we're just kind of finishing this, I'm going to grab a little bit of oat flour. There's a little oat, but it's rye and a little bit more cornmeal. And then we're going to add that back to it, just to give it a little bit more consistency. what is the consistency that we're really looking for? We're looking for pancake batter.
Okay.
So, you know, if it's not there, if it's too thin, we'll add a little bit more of our dry ingredients. And obviously if it was too thick, we could easily just thin it out with a touch of water. So guys, just bear with me. I'm gonna grab a little bit more.
So while you're doing this, I'll talk a little bit about the wine we're gonna do with
That
this.
sounds great.
So, the same as we did in our last session, I wanted to stay with the, price point nice and low, have a variety of wines to go with different things that we're serving, and make sure that we're still getting a lot of bang for the buck. So I'm gonna let Jen, our resident French expert, do my pronunciation on the vineyard
Oh
here.
my gosh, why are you doing this?
You got it, you got it.
On the spot.
Reserve de Chateau.
Reserve de Chateau. I sound ridiculous. This is the Tavel Rosé. It's going to be a little bit more full-bodied than a lot of rosés that I'm used to. But I thought that would play nicely with the crema that we're going to have. That it's going to, you wanted something that's really going to stand up against that, but we still want it to be nice and refreshing. It's going to have some good berry flavors that are going to offset some of that lime and really kind of draw out the earthiness that we're going to get out of the mushrooms. So this is gonna be a good one. And it rolls in at a $10.99 price point. So
That's great.
yeah.
Chef Ben, so I don't have a sous vide machine or a vacuum sealer. Can I use Ziploc bags and simmering water on the stove to sous vide?
You sure can.
Okay.
So let me answer that question by instead of just saying yes, but what you need to do to make sure you're safe. Right, so you need to, if you're gonna use a Ziploc bag and anything else, then you just need to make sure that you use water displacement. So let's have fun. Let's take this towel, pretend it's a Ziploc bag, and you got product in it. Once you put the product in it, you're gonna wanna go to the side of the counter, right? And you'll start at the bottom, and you're gonna work your way up with that bag, and you're gonna force it all the way up to keep, and you're gonna force all that air out, right?
Okay.
So that's one way to do it. So that's the air displacement. Or what you'll do is take that bag that's got food in it, and then come over here, and you're actually going to push it all down in there, and any air that's left in that bag, you're gonna leave the top of the Ziploc slightly open, and you'll push that Ziploc bag all the way down in there. It'll force the air up, and then you close that last little bit, and that's truly the best water displacement. And then you know that you're not leaving oxygen or anything in there that could potentially cause you to get sick. Because that's the worry with under vacuum is like, are they leaving it cooked too long? Is there anything in there that could potentially, because it's an oxygen depleted environment, could anybody get sick from it? So it's a great question, but as long as you get all of that air out of there, you're good to go.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but it's a lot of fun too, honestly, at home. Do I always use the vacuum sealer and backpack? Honestly, I don't. You know why? Because it's a lot of getting stuff out of the drawer. A lot of time it's like we only have 30-minute meals with the kids, so we'll a lot of time put it in a Ziploc bag. Asparagus, Ziploc bag it, water displace it, and then just get it right in there. So you don't need all the fancy equipment to be able to do sous vide.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so let's slide back over here. So, you know, things don't always come out perfect the first time, especially doughs and batters and stuff. Add a little bit more of that rye flour and a little bit of that blue cornmeal as well. So you can see, doesn't that look a lot like the consistency of like a pancake batter? And so with that being said, this is the last component. So what we're gonna do is heat the pan up. We're gonna go medium, high for these blings. We do wanna get kind of that caramelization on there. And then we're just gonna add a little bit of olive oil. And so we have more of the allspice. They just do such a wonderful job with the infusions and all their spices and oils. This is the Eureka lemon.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So sometimes like just be careful when adding oil and stuff. I like to add mine sometimes on the side if I'm unsure how hot that pan is. And then also when I slide that oil out, I can tell that it's starting to shimmer, kind of what temperature that pan is. Just add a touch more. The aromatics that are already coming from it, this lemon oil is really, really good.
So one of the problems that I always have when I cook at home is anytime I do anything where I have to like pour it in and then identify if it's done or not.
Sure.
What advice can you give? Because I mean, you know, my trick would be I'd turn it over and it would be raw.
Yeah, you know what? We can always be wrong, especially like the first pancake in the morning, like at a restaurant when you put it on the flat top. It always seems like it doesn't go right. Or like that first table, it's like, let's test a pancake out before you serve it. Look for the dry sides, okay? You should start to see that bubbling on the top and the dry sides.
Got it. Oh, you can really smell that lemon. It smells
Right?
good.
Yeah.
It smells great.
Yeah, it does. It's really coming forward. They just do such a nice job. The thing is, if you go down to their store too, it's like they'll let you sample out, let you sniff everything in the store. It's pretty cool. So what I'm doing is I got a little portion scoop here. Like I said, it's like these aren't These aren't full-size pancakes. These should just be like kind of a little bit bigger than silver dollar size. And what's the worst thing that can happen when you're making a batter? You know, you can either burn it or it doesn't come out right. But if you're pretty confident that, you know, and this does look really good, it's about making sure we got that right temperature. And I'm gonna pull this off the heat here in a second so we can kind of circle back to that question you were just asking.
Okay.
You can end up having your temperature incorrectly and then you're not gonna get enough rise out of it. And you can start to cook the sides. But if it's the right temperature, the outsides will start to get dry and then you'll get the poof out of the middle. So I'm gonna show that to you, and it looks like it's working out very good. I'm not worried about the first ones not coming out of it.
I've always followed the rule of thumb of the bubbles.
Oh, yeah?
If you have bubbles in your batter,
Yeah.
it's time to flip it.
Got it. I didn't even know that rule, so.
Learned
There
it
we
from
go.
my mama.
There we go.
Back when I was a little kid, she taught me how to make the pancakes.
So look at that first one, how that turned out, guys, and hopefully you can all see
Oh my
that.
gosh, that's
wow.
perfect.
It is, that cornmeal in there in particular is what's gonna give it some of that caramelization. The tough thing is because these things just wanna squirm around the pan so much. But it's good because they're not sticking at all. So what happens if you can't find rye flour? What happens if you can't find blue cornmeal? Like those things that, like Chef, how are those like regional products or whatever? Well, they are. They're not around or as common. If you can't find blue cornmeal, don't worry about it. There's white and yellow. They all kind of taste the same. It's just trying to just, you know, incorporate some things that maybe everybody doesn't see every day. But if you can't find rye flour, get oat flour. Use regular flour. You know, use
Okay.
whatever you want. So each one of them is going to contribute a little bit differently. But so now that we flip these, got about maybe 1 more minute left. How do you know that it's done? Right? Well, we don't want to leave it underdone. But the fact is that first side we've gotten really nice browning on.
Oh, wow.
It's gonna take the other side a lot less time. We're just finishing it off, and then we're gonna have carryover cooking. So, I mean, we're already pretty much close to being done on that right now.
Okay.
So we've got, just to kind of recap and fall back through before we build, is we've got the asparagus, which we have sous vide. We've got the mushrooms, which we have chopped and sauteed or roasted. We've got the black lime pepper, and now we have the blinis. So we're gonna go ahead, heat's killed, and we're just gonna go ahead and build these and then platter them up. And we'll just go ahead, if it sounds good to you guys, we'll snack on a few and then have some wine with it.
Sounds like
great.
fun.
Cool. Yes. Yeah, these are really
It
nice.
smells so good.
I always love a savory pancake when I'm out at a restaurant. Like if I see that on the menu, I'm 99% of the time going to order it. But I never think of doing them at home.
Oh, wow.
Look at that, that looks
Just a little smells going on here too, guys. I know it's not the same,
wonderful.
but it's fully cooked. You know, it's
Yeah.
not overcooked,
Yeah.
but there's still a little bit of moisture left inside the pancake, so or the blini. But so we're gonna transfer these over to the cutting board first, where we can build these. And
You can see all the grains. in
yeah.
excuse me. So these are a little warm. This is a cream, right? It's a crema, so it can slide off if it's like you don't allow it to slightly cool.
Okay.
So, but that's why we kind of transfer, get them out of that pan, it's real hot and steaming, and then we'll get them on this other side here. So now that these have allowed to slightly cool, you guys got the crema with it. It's not too stiff at all. You know, we whipped it, got some of those flavors in there. This is where, just want to do a, you know, just a spread. And you can spread it all nice and even, but instead, nah, you want to just kind of leave it as is. Leave it, you know, just like a little bit extra. And so at this point, I mean, it's really just about, I mean, honestly, this is fun for me. You know, at this point in time, the cooking is done on it. It's just a matter of putting it together, and what's more fun kind of than, you know, when the hard work is done and you get to enjoy the fruits of the labor. I mean, what can you see when you're looking at this asparagus? I mean, I've trimmed the bottom a little bit, just like we talked about. You know, it's still got its texture to it, but it's got all of those flavors of that lemon and that butter and salt all already in there.
Well, and you see why you want to use like the bigger asparagus
Yeah.
because it's not so falling apart
Yes.
as it is so often when you make asparagus at home.
And I don't know if you can tell on camera, but it's so, the color is so vibrant.
So
Like,
great.
I've never cooked an asparagus like that.
Right?
Mine usually look like pale. washed out steaks.
Well, sometimes if like you get lucky and you get the right size and then you get it on the grill and it comes out really good.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's not always like that because the sizes depend so much. But that is a good way to go with the sous vide because even if you do end up getting smaller ones, you can still control the cooking a little bit better than you can on the grill. So
Beautiful.
thank you.
It smells so good. Again.
I'm just gonna kind of plot this all out here for us to kind of see, and if say we were doing some more, we could easily all kind of get our hands on it. But for today, I'm gonna let you guys have clean mitts. And so really this is just about building it, and so we've got some of that shiitake mushroom. You see the seasoning on it, it's really nice. And this is where, so I took that asparagus and what I do is I slice it on the bias. It exposes the most amount of surface area, which is gonna obviously make it taste the best if you can have the most surface area.
Oh my gosh, and all the lemon, you can just smell so much of the
Mm-hmm.
lemon, the pancakes and the oil and the lemon and like the asparagus, it's gonna be so delightful.
So we'll build a few of these and then hand them over to you guys, but we want to show this first one as I'm building it though. There was already seasoning in with the asparagus, but this here is that Maldon sea salt. It's a finishing salt. I don't want to over season it, but this is where a chance for us to add a little bit more salt to really then when we bite into it and it's sitting on that asparagus for really those flavors to pop. So that's pretty much it. We're going to throw some microgreens on it, but at the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. You can have fun with it. You can put this is where building it, you can have the most fun. The kids can have fun too if it was more of a kid style party, and not that they would be eating mushrooms and asparagus. But,
Maybe like this they would.
yeah,
Very
yes.
impressed with your kids.
Well, I try to get my kids to eat stuff like this. They like Hot Pockets and.
It's hard to be a good hot pocket.
Yes, it is, isn't it? But again, guys, this is it's not difficult, but all this stuff it is very seasonal. If you got wild asparagus growing out, even if it's if you don't let it overgrow, this is a fantastic play for something that's very much in season right now. And then some local microgreens. These were grown probably 10 minutes from here over at a local guy's house who does some wonderful job. And so again, I'm gonna add a little bit of these, not just for color, for some nutrition, and really just to kind of, it's a finger food party. We gotta have some fun. So these are the party favors. The last thing I like to do, a little bit of fresh. So we're just gonna go a little bit right over the top. This is in a very fine grind. You can hardly see any coming out. But it's just gonna give that last bit of seasoning. And there we have it.
Beautiful.
Started by Bellini with sous vide asparagus, some sauteed shiitake mushrooms, and the black lime black garlic crema.
Wow.
Oh, this
Wow.
looks great.
Yeah.
Something that would never be said at my house, almost too beautiful to eat. This is amazing.
Oh, thank you. No, it's good. It's finger foods,
It
right?
is. Just in case it decides to break in half on you.
Thank you.
You know?
Chef.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Mm.
Oh,
That
wow.
crema is so good. The lemon with the asparagus, oh my god.
And the cornmeal texture
Yeah.
in that pancake.
That is a nice little bite of food.
That's delightful.
Sarah, I do like the pairing.
Right?
Yeah.
A little bit of that berry with that lemon.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that it's a little bit bolder of a rosé maybe than I go for it in the summertime. But it's not sweet.
No,
No,
It's just
yeah.
very rounded in its fruit.
I think it's really good with food.
Yes.
Maybe just drinking on the patio, maybe not the right flavor, but
Yeah.
it's really beautiful with food.
Mm.
Well, guys, while we're just taking the next couple bites, I'm going to wipe a couple things down here, but we're going to talk about the next two courses. We're going to kind of keep it clean, but I want to talk about two things, both of them, so we can kind of dovetail back and forth. And so here on this pot, I want to bring a point that this is some boiling water, and there's a can in there. What are you doing with that can, Jeff? Why is that there? Excuse me. This is sweetened condensed milk. So you take sweetened condensed milk, you boil it for 6 hours, you let it cool. Inside that can, instead of sweetened condensed milk, you have a caramelized version of it, which is dulce de leche. And so that's where we're at right now. We're actually a little bit past that 6 hour mark. We're gonna go ahead and let that chill. That's gonna be for our dessert today, right? That's gonna be for that trifle. So I just wanna let you guys know that this is something that you're gonna have to do a little bit in advance. Wake up in the morning, we're gonna have it like tonight, just get it going on the stove early, 6 hours, and then we'll let it cool for a couple. So with that being said, we wanna move into that next dish that I was talking to you guys about, which is the cones. But we're not talking about ice cream cones. We're gonna be talking about more of the savory cone, and I think you guys are really gonna like it. The cone is gonna be made out of Parmesan cheese, so it's basically what we call a tuile. So we're gonna take some Parmesan cheese, we're gonna put it onto a sheet pan, and we're gonna bake it in the oven. So just bear with me for a sec, guys. I've got that sheet pan, and I'm gonna show you what this is. It's like, oh, that's kind of freeform. Doesn't have to all be perfect. We just take some of that Parmesan, shred it down. We're gonna put it into almost a circle, and then pat it down so it's nice and even, okay?
That's
We're gonna take this and put this into a 400-degree oven,
Yeah.
and we're gonna bake this. It's gonna take probably 3 to 5 minutes at that 400-degree oven, and it's gonna get bubbly. It's gonna get, not quite GBD though, it's not golden brown delicious. We're looking for light and brown, or light golden brown. And so those are gonna turn in, and those gonna create a wafer. And for the sake of we're not gonna be able to do this in the time that it takes, but it's super easy. It's hot, that cheese comes out, we roll it across a carrot. So to make a cone, if you're a chef, you have cone molds. We got all kinds of fancy tools. But at home, it's like, I don't have that. So I got a carrot. And so that's what this morning, as we're getting ready for our event, our dinner tonight, I baked some cheese off in the oven ahead of time and then just rolled it around a carrot. So what we have here is those cones. So this is gonna be the vehicle for our dish. And what our dish is today, guys, is it's a cone stuffed with beef. So it's like, oh, that's interesting. So this is kind of like a play off of like a DeBurgo riff. So if you know about anything about Iowa, there's one dish that Iowa's known for. And then there's sweet corn, there's other things, but it's like, what comes out of Iowa? It's steak DeBurgo. Even though it's Italian, or it's from New Orleans, it's still an Iowa dish that's known for. So I really wanted to be able to take that and just kind of spin it on its head a little bit. Make it finger food, make it fun. And so that's what we did. And so with that being said, we've got the vehicle for that, we've got those cones, and then what we need to work on is the beef. And so with the beef, Iowa's known for its pork, its beef, its soybeans, and corn, right? And so beef had to be done. And I want to talk to you guys about it, like beef is really high in price right now. It's hard, it's difficult, whether it's ground beef or it's steaks. So even at home, it's like, what do? You gotta try to find some different cuts. So ribeyes and the T-bones and all that, that's not a good play right now. It just costs too much. And so what we did today is we went with what's called a chuck eye steak. You guys might have heard of it before. The chuck eye looks kind of like a ribeye steak. And the reason why is because it kind of is, but it's considered a part of the chuck instead of a part of the rib. So, but it falls in that kind of same category, and it's kind of fatty, it's full of flavor, but it's cheaper because not everybody knows about it. What they call it the butcher's cut. Because if you don't know, you ask the butcher for that cut. And there's only 2 per animal, I think is what it comes down to.
Oh, wow.
So that's what we've done today. And so with the steak, I'm gonna go ahead and grab and show you guys. What we did is, I just roasted these just a few minutes ago, now I've allowed it to rest. So I took this chuck eye steak, I trimmed it up just slightly. Kind of looks like a ribeye steak, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It does. Seasoned it really well with salt and pepper, not allowed it to cool, okay? Same with the mushrooms. These mushrooms here are just a cremini mushroom, and this has been infused with some of that awesome garlic oil from allspice and some salt and pepper, just roasted in the oven. So we're not, not trying to hide anything here. We're just trying to enhance the flavor of these items the best we can. And so with that, we need to prep that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the steak, now that we've allowed it to rest, why is resting? You guys have any idea why resting is important with meat?
It'll continue cooking.
Will. And what else might happen? If I was to cut into this hot, what might happen?
You're gonna lose all your juices.
Dude, that's not a very good product. So why would we worry about what kind of cut we get or what we do? So all this is important. So we're gonna take a little bit and remove some of that trim, but I wanna show you guys. I mean, this is gonna make people happy. You can't make everybody happy, but to try to get a medium, it seems like that can please most everybody.
Yeah.
I like medium rare steaks, but not everybody likes it. This generally, as a chef, I found works pretty well. So we're gonna trim a little bit of that excessive fat, move some of that off to the side, and all we're trying to do here, guys, is we're going to end up going into a dice on this. It's gonna go inside those cones, so we do wanna get it kinda to where it's chopped up kinda fine. This beef product here, this chuck eye, it's very tender. If you guys have had a prime rib out of your favorite restaurant, and it's been cooked really well, this is very much like it. It's a fantastic cut. So next time you go out, you stop at the store, look for that chuck eye, and look for a good one. Sometimes you'll find it's called chuck eye and it's reserved, so it's even a higher end. So we've got that beef now, and then we'll do the same with the mushrooms. We're just gonna run that knife through it. And just a quick thing about knife safety. What I have here is I have a very nice knife, but it's maintained. It's always kept sharp.
Yeah.
Maintaining a sharp knife is important. A dull knife is going to be much more dangerous than a sharp knife because you're going to use more force to try to cut through the food. But there's also something about the tool should be sharp, and and that way too that you always know when you go to it that you're not going to put yourself at risk, and you're taking care of your tools. So that's one of the key things about keeping your knife sharp at home.
I do a sneaky thing that every chef I've ever worked with hates. But I bought one of those just like $5 knife sharpeners off Amazon.
Does it work?
It works great. And I just, once a week, take my knives. I don't have super fancy nice knives. If you have super fancy nice knives, do not buy the $5 thing off of Amazon. But if you're buying yourself knives that are fine,
Right.
they're easy to use on there. I just run them through it, but it keeps it nice and sharp so I'm not hurting myself.
So eventually you just end up with a metal toothpick?
Yes, eventually I will have to go to IKEA and replace those knives. No, I'm kidding.
So, this pan right here, we've got heating really fast. So what we're looking to do here, guys, is we've got that beef chopped up, and we've got those roasted mushrooms chopped up. Is that good enough? Sure. Like for what we're doing, we could just take those items, they're already cooked, they're ready to go. We could just throw them inside that tweel cone, and it'd probably be pretty delicious. But instead, we want to enhance this flavor just a touch more. So the next item that we have to make is a roasted garlic crema. And so what we do is we're going to take a bowl, and we would take some cream cheese. We're going to throw that in there, and that's what crema is: cream cheese and flavoring. So we've done that, and I did that a little bit this morning, and I've added some flavors to it. This is a roasted garlic crema. So kind of playing into that garlic for this middle round of the dish. This one here has got some black garlic in it. It's got roasted garlic, and it's just got regular garlic. So you can't pick up on the smell as much, but on the flavor wise it does. It's got a lot of backbone, which is going to give that cone just one extra nuance. And so now that this has been mixed up, how do we do that? It's just as simple as it's just putting items in a bowl and whiskey. Is really what it comes down to. These cremas are super easy, but it comes down to just to the right taste. Does it have the right amount of salt? If you don't have the right amount of salt, you won't pick up on all of the garlic. You won't pick up on all those flavors. So what I've done is got the pan hot. We're going to then take the beef and mushrooms, and we're going to go ahead and slide those right in. Since we have that sloped pan, I'm going to go ahead and add those items in first before I add the oil, just so I don't have any splattering.
Now, is the crema your like a Virgo sauce?
It is.
Do you usually do a Virgo crema cream cheese?
No, but
Okay.
I like to riff on it a little bit.
Yeah,
so.
I like that. I thought it seemed really fun.
Yeah, and that's all it was trying, and that's what a lot of chefs are. What's fun to do is take something that people can recognize and put our own spin on it.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you that. It's like are you always thinking about when you try food on how you can put your own spin and make your own recipe?
I think so. I think that it's like instead of trying to think that you invent everything, that you try to take what's already been done, and imitation is the greatest form of flattery, is what I think I've heard a few times. And so no, instead it's like, I want to be the best chef I can, and it's best, but you know what, it doesn't, to me, I'm okay with doing what people want. And then if I can put our own spin on it, let it work. You know, like if people want spaghetti and meatballs, let's give them spaghetti and meatballs, but let's go ahead and put the Iowa swing on,
Right,
so to speak. That's my philosophy, I guess. So in my younger years, I thought like, no, you had to have your own cuisine or your own whatever. Instead, now it's just like take food and enhance it the best you can. But as far as it goes, I like things that you go to the gas station right now, popular items there. You serve those at home. That's what the kids want.
Right.
And that's what adults want. So I'm very much into is seeing what other people are doing and trying to do the same or better. You know, but there's also times too with this black lime and some of the other things. Sometimes the first one is to like do the comes to the party with it.
Yeah.
So like doing the black lime or doing something in town, being the first person to put it on their menus is something cool. Kind of gives you a little bit of intrigue, mystery or something.
Yeah, sure.
So real quick, the beef and mushrooms, we don't know how to cook this. You know, it's cooked really well. So we just really wanted to bring those flavors together. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to take a little bit of this creme, and we're going to just pop it in there like fast. And so we're going to put it over the top, but what this is going to do is it's going to cream it up. It's going to just bring it all together. It's going to also then kind of let it kind of bond together so it sticks once we put it into the cone.
So now this is always a divisive question. Are you a cream DeBurgo fan or an oil-based DeBurgo fan?
I like them both.
I know, I like everything.
I do, yeah. I mean, because some people could be like, well, what's proper? You know, or this or that. And I don't know. You know, regardless, I love the burgo. So when the restaurants in town here do it,
Yeah,
I just try to figure out who has the best.
yeah.
So I do like them both. There's a lot of restaurants in town that do a great job. So let's go ahead and start moving into get some of these ready.
Well, on that note, I should grab out the next wine.
Yeah.
Because, while I love that rosé, and actually for a rosé, I think it's gonna stand up against a steak pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it's hard to go wrong if you're serving a steak burgo with a nice cab. So the Freak Show cab is gonna be probably the most expensive wine that I'm gonna be serving. It's $16.99 a bottle, and it is delightful at that price point. It's a Michael David wine. I'm a huge fan of the Michael David collection, and Freak Show is just a really great California red. It's bold, it's spicy, it's got, deep earthy notes of plum in there, it's got some of those nice dark cherries that you're looking for, but it's just a great traditional California cab, and that's what I want when I'm eating a good steak.
Thank you, Sarah.
Absolutely.
Good as good.
Right? I know, the label does not hurt.
So we've had a couple different mushrooms in the first two rounds. How do you figure out which one works best in a recipe?
Sure. Sometimes people don't like mushrooms, so I try to keep that in mind first. But if they do, like I do today, it was about trying to showcase the bounty. So when I try to figure out mushrooms, I just try to figure out, even if I think I know something, instead I try to throw that out the window and be like, well, what is it? What does shiitake really bring forward? And it brings forward a much different flavor than most mushrooms. And so when I'm trying to figure out what to use, honestly, the most important thing comes down to is if it works, then what's in season. It all comes down to that. And I never realized it more than anything before. It's like, the best chef in town is Joe Tripp down at Harbinger. I mean, he's the guy that always says it too. It's just like all he's trying to do is take the produce at its peak and try to serve it. And that might mean he's fermenting it. And so that's kind of the philosophy goes when I'm trying to shop for food or come up with a menu. This is like, hey, this might go great with a lobster mushroom. But if they're not in season, let's find out what's the best thing in season that's close to it that would work. So there's a lot of compromise, I guess is what I'm trying to answer the question as. Is like, if you're so straightforward, like we're gonna use portobello mushrooms here, that's fine, but would you use portobello mushrooms if they weren't of the highest quality and there's a better, fresher one available? So that's really what it comes down to me. And that's why for me, I don't mind going to the grocery store. I don't like to spend money, but I do like to see what's available. I love to see when local grocery stores are offering different mushrooms or they're providing something local. So, but I would use your nose, use your eyes. What looks good, smells good, it's probably gonna taste good. So that's the best piece of advice, find out what looks fresh and then roll with that. Because if you go in there with a list and stuff, then I think that you're gonna focus on the list instead of focus on what you're looking at and seeing. Whether it be the even if you end up going to like a Walmart or something, sometimes if you have to, like even then, it's just like, I'll look at the list but then deviate from it and find out what's best. So, we're gonna go ahead and plate these up and then give these a taste. How's that sound, guys?
That sounds great.
Cool.
You mentioned Joe Tripp, he's got a new restaurant opening here staying on Windsor Heights with Simon from Simon's. I'm excited
I
to
didn't
see
realize
those
he
two
was
come
involved in
together.
it, that's sick.
Yeah.
So let me talk this out a little bit, guys. So we've got that beef and mushroom mixture that we've been hit with that garlic crema.
Yeah.
So that's all together. It's a matter of we're gonna put it inside there, and then we're gonna throw some fresh microgreens on top of it, and then bite into it.
I want to put those on everything.
I know,
Yeah,
literally.
that's my new
And
fun
I mean,
thing.
if you're gonna have a cone, it's like, Parmesan cone.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
I
know.
know.
I could eat
So
that alone.
excited.
I mean, that must be so hard having a career that's so involved in everyone's obsession. Because everyone, no matter what, has, is eating multiple times a day, and we all have opinions about food.
Sure.
It must be so interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, like, people do insurance or whatever, and who cares? Until you need it, but
Mhm.
it's like food, everybody loves food.
They do, and everybody's got their own opinion on food too, which is great. But it could also, it's a tough thing too, right?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think that with food, it's like everybody is, especially with even the pandemic, kind of bringing that up, like it's caused people to kind of rethink, and then finding out what the trends are and stuff. So, I'll be honest, like with food is a wonderful thing. Everybody's got to eat, a couple times at least a day. So, I think that that's a good thing. The more that people become aware of what they're eating and stuff, it's a better world.
Right.
But it's also then made our life a lot better, like working out at our job. I mean, we get to do some pretty amazing food.
Yeah.
And it's the same rustic folk from Iowa, they're a meat and potatoes crowd, but gosh, it's amazing how that even the meat and potatoes crowd has kind of opened up. And they've changed a lot. It's turned out to be pretty cool.
Don't you think there's a pretty big food scene in Des Moines?
I think that we're on the cusp, really, yes. I think that the guys that have hung around, I think that there's some restaurant, that we're cannibalizing ourselves in the restaurant industry a little bit.
Yeah.
But there's some serious talent, and there's some talent making its way back.
Well, and especially when you think about where the restaurant scene was in Des Moines 17 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just not that long ago,
Sure.
we were a Bud Light and burger town. Now nothing is wrong with Bud Light and a burger.
No.
But that was it. That was what you had. And now to see all the talent coming out, so many great things. Also, one of the greatest things I learned working in restaurants is that, everybody's picky, right? Everybody has their own things that they don't like. But I've learned that I will like almost any ingredient, even if I'm certain it's something I'm not fond of, if it's prepared correctly.
Right.
True. I'm not always the biggest mushroom fan, but I am loving these.
Yeah.
And when you pair it with the right things and you just get all the right ingredients together. So I try not to close myself off to any specific ingredients anymore.
I think I'm the same way. I should be a chef too, but there's so much. Like even if it's not my what I might love, or I have a best first pick, like it's I love everything, and I try to teach the kids and all the staff that too. Like, gosh, you'll miss out if you don't try something. You can try and not like it,
Yeah.
but just
Yeah.
try it.
I will literally eat everything. Anything you put in front of me, I would eat. I do. I love food.
I'll try almost anything. I think I've sea urchin, I was a hard no on. That's about the only thing I've had in front of me that I've gone, no, I'm not even attempting that one. But
Right.
for the most part, I'm in.
I'd say the same thing. The only time I didn't like sea urchin either. I don't know if it's because we're in Iowa and we're like in the middle of the map, but I tried something that tasted like seafood toothpaste.
Oh, I would try.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I took one look at it and I was like, not for me, somebody else eat this.
Seafood toothpaste.
Yeah, seriously.
Super
It was
specific.
bad.
Yeah.
So guys, these are finished up here. So these are those cones.
Oh,
So they got a cones shape to them, or they kind of almost look like a
Thank you.
cannoli. These things.
Yeah,
They
it
do.
totally does.
These things can be switched up. You guys can make any kind of shape that you like, absolutely. And they might break on you. Like the first bite, they might break and end up on your plate. It's all fun. We're having fun here.
I've never been afraid of a taco, so
No.
same idea.
Me either.
Oh, take it easy. I just love eating in front of everybody.
Me too.
Oh my god, that's delicious. Wow.
That is so good.
And that, I mean, it's such a Virgo crema. That's amazing.
Yeah, so it does taste reminiscent of,
It does.
in a much different platform, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, with these being these Parmesan twills, these cones here, guys, this is certainly something you can do. You can do at home. It is so easy. And then whether it be a cork that you wrap it around, whether you take a carton that you have your eggs come in, you can take that Parmesan cheese and basically make any shape that you want.
Like a cup.
Yes, absolutely. And even back in the culinary school days, I think that was one of the first times I ever seen it done. When we used it on the back of eggshell cartons and we made this little basket.
Mm-hmm.
And still to this day, it's one of those things that's stuck in my head. So, but it's a fun little way to go about it. So, it was fun to put
Wow.
together. I'm glad you guys like.
And that cab is so meaty too. It just
Mhm.
is so
Right?
wonderful with it.
I didn't even bother yet.
Oh, yeah.
It's just jammy and chewy
It
and
is
delightful.
so meaty with it.
It's a good way to say it. That is, it's a really nice wine. And it finishes just absolutely just plain perfect.
I feel,
Picks up the pepper in the.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I feel like Michael David, the whole catalog, I think, tastes out at a much higher price point than what it's actually sold for. And that's just one of my favorite little secrets. I love this cap. They also have a Petite that's a blend of Petite Syrah, Petite Verdot, which are two grapes that people aren't necessarily as familiar with. Oh my gosh. It's velvety and it's luxurious and it's still that under $20 price point, which is great when you're entertaining for multiple people, being able to kind of keep that price down.
That's true. I haven't had that one. That's really good.
Yeah.
I like these spicy red.
I really like the cheese twill. I might have to actually try that
Yeah.
sometime on my own.
And I love how approachable it is to make, right?
Mhm.
Just like, so I just put cheese in a pile and in the oven. I can do that.
Wow, yes, it's that easy.
I'm capable of that.
I say that, and then I do it. I'm like, well, damn.
Well, you know what? In that case, Dan, we'll just drink some wine at the end of the night. It'll be fine.
Nice black cheese.
That's the beauty. If anything doesn't work out, you've still got that bottle of wine. It's gonna go ahead and get you right through it.
What do you guys think? Those bites pretty good. You guys want to move on into some dessert preparation?
I want to move on into another one. Where's the rest?
I got some on the back.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was
And I'll
so
never
good.
say no to dessert.
Well, good. Well, we'll get plenty more stuff rolling here. We talked a little bit about that dulce de leche, so that's something that does take a little bit of time, 6 hours on the pot. So we've killed that heat now, letting it do its thing. I want to show you what that looks like, guys. It really is. What sweetened condensed milk looks like. It looks like a really thick cream, kind of like a
Yeah.
glaze. This is what happens when the caramelization that happens inside of this pan.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Just
It looks like
sticking it in
caramel.
the pan and
It
letting it.
Yeah.
really does. I mean, you'd be thinking like, well, did you buy caramel? And
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But no, I mean, that's what this is. They're just, with this, like in the instructions on the recipe sheet, it's just a matter of trying to make sure that you understand that this can be a dangerous thing too. That, we were keeping it at a boil, but we're not trying to keep it at a rolling boil, and then we're not pulling this can out hot. The contents are under pressure. So anyway, this is what this looks like. And dulce de leche is fantastic. It's a flavor that's a very hot, trendy item over the past several years. So what we're going to be doing now for the final course for today is going to be that trifle. And it's going to be, I think it's going to really kind of let you guys feel like we're at home. It's apples, it's bananas, it's the banana bread, and then we've got some meringue to go with it. So a lot of great flavors, textures, and things going on. So making the banana bread. Let's get right into it. I'm not going to actually make the banana bread here today. It's going to take a while, and then we have to let it set overnight. But what we're going to do is just at least talk about the mixing process. So all of those ingredients that we have for the banana bread, we're going to take the bananas, which you can get at the store. These here are fine. Go for darker.
Yeah.
Go for more ripe.
I was just gonna ask, so if I'm gonna go make my banana bread and all I've got is bananas that are not very ripe, can I go ahead and make that? Are there any fun tricks I can do to try to move it along?
Yeah, and fun tricks I just learned recently. So throw them in the oven, roast them.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, or if say that you throw them in, say that they're not going to be ripe by tomorrow. I don't know if that brown paper bag trick's going to work. Throw them in the freezer. they'll turn the peels black, and then it seems like when you pull them out, it's like, are those right? But what it does is it's broken down by the freezing action, and they're ready to rock and roll. So if you can get ahead of it by a day, that's what I would
Yeah.
do. These right here will work, but they're not gonna work out as well for you. So, but I just wanted to show that as an example. The bananas that I used, I took to, they were very spotty. So they were very
Yeah.
ripe. That's what we're gonna do, guys, is we're gonna do our wet and our dry mix do separate, and then we're gonna bring them together. And then what we do is we mash the bananas. If you wanna leave a little texture, you can rough dice it, but instead I want this to go all the way through the bread. So that's what I did. I mashed that all up, brought this all together. But then for the apples, instead of having those and sauteing them before we put them in, leave those a little larger and leave them raw. But we peeled them. So then we're gonna add those in here into the mix, and then what we're doing is we're just gonna mix that up, okay? And for the sake and purpose of trying to be able to get this done in a timely manner, this is what I've made, and now it's been cool, okay? And I just pulled this out in the past couple hours. So I made individual little apple banana breads. So, follow the recipe, but super, super simple. It's a matter of measuring your ingredients, mixing it together, putting it in a pan and baking it. The baking time on this does take a while. It's gonna be anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour and 10 minutes. I put them in little smaller tins, as you can see, so it took me less time. But this is a fantastic product. It's gonna taste very much like an apple banana bread. If you've ever had like a grandma style banana bread, this is what we were going for. So we've got those off to the side. What I'm gonna show you to do though real quick is when we go in to make these trifles, we're going to, don't chop it. Sometimes, especially like you're doing a cheese platter, I actually learned it from one of my cooks. He was taking the Parmesan cheese and other cheese and was taking a knife to it. He was just taking his hands to it. And then you have the natural breaks and stuff. It just makes a big difference. It looks better, looks more high end, and you follow natural break lines. So that's what we're gonna do here is just kind of break that down a little bit, expose the surface area, but do it to where it's in a rustic way. So that's the one component, and then we've got the dulce de leche. So we've gotten 2 of those components done. The next one is we've got meringue and we've got apple. So we've got 4 different things going into this trifle. So I told you guys a little bit about the produce. This here is an apple, as you can see, obviously. There's not just any apple. This is a very, very, very much in season Honeycrisp. This is an out-of-hand apple.
Yeah.
Right out of hand, which means that, like instead, this can be used for baking and other things, but this is eaten out of hand and it's just wonderful. What we're looking for here to do, we just want to go ahead and then peel this apple to get rid of the skin. And then what we're going to do is after we get done peeling, we're going to dice it. So we're going to dice it into sizes about like that for that
So
dice.
a little bit of a heavy dice.
Yeah.
A little bit big.
Yep. And so then we've got a pan going back here, guys. And so we're going to do that right about medium high. And then we have some of this wonderful, we're going to use some of that Eureka lemon. All the way. Just a little bit. We're going to add a touch of butter to it.
Yeah.
But because butter is going to have a tendency of browning because the milk solids in it, I'm going to turn this pan just slightly to the side. And the pan's pretty hot, so it does have I can see the oil's shimmering.
Nice.
I'm not trying to add too much oil, but I'm adding probably about a couple tablespoons here just to make sure there's enough of the size of the pan. And so that is plenty. I'm gonna get that garlic and the apples right in. So you can hear that sizzle.
Yeah.
Got plenty of heat on there. What we're looking for here, guys, we're just looking for a quick saute. While this is sauteing down, we're gonna make sure that's right at that medium temperature, not too hot. We're gonna talk through the meringue, okay?
That lemon and apple.
It gives a nice
Right?
note to it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It is nice.
Yeah.
So the meringue, what is a meringue? Meringue is egg whites. You whip up egg whites. I can do it in front of you guys today. I'm not going to because the process is, I'm going to sit here and sweat and then I'm going to do just the craziest workout in. You can do it on a stand mixer, but most people
Oh
don't
my
know
gosh, I was
stand
gonna say
mixer.
you're gonna hand
I
you're
did.
gonna hand mix
I
your meringue.
I was going to and stuff, but I timed it this morning and it took me about 16 minutes and my forearms were just
Oh my
close.
god.
So
I'm a
anyway-
lazy baker. I'm a stand mixer, electric
Yes,
mixer.
I didn't bring
Yeah.
the stand mixer, so I did make it earlier. And with meringues and stuff, dude, they have a tendency if they can fall, they can go flat.
Right.
It's an easy process. The recipe that is in the packet is super easy to follow. You're separating out egg yolks and egg whites, and then you just make sure there's no egg yolks in those egg whites, and you're gonna beat them until they're frothy.
Yeah.
And then we add just a couple things. Oh, cream of tartar, never heard of it. You add a little bit of that, and then you're adding some sugar, and then I added vanilla bean. And all I do is whisk that until it's light and fluffy. I spread it out onto a pan and I bake it in the oven for 3 hours at a very low temperature to not get any color. And so I want to show you guys that. And I want you guys to go ahead and munch on a little bit too.
Terrific.
So this is
That's what I was
what
looking
we
for.
And some of the smaller pieces, like I left some of them larger so we can break them up. But this was just one pan, like I said, baked at a low temperature. And it's gonna have flavor, but this is where the texture.
That stuffing is fantastic. It's like adult cotton candy.
Isn't it that things like doing meringue is dependent on weather?
Yes.
Does that impact it?
Yeah, so,
Humidity and,
yeah, so,
Yeah.
so I'll give you for instance, like at work the other day, like I had to make a meringue for a dish. And I got it done, and then I had it done the night before, right? Because I had the hydrators at work and stuff. And so I let it sit out so that way it continues to dry. You know, it's gonna continue to crisp up. Instead, because it's humid and there's so much moisture out and about right now, it softened my meringue.
Oh, shoot.
So what I had to do was go back and then put it back in the hydrator for a few hours.
Okay.
And so, yes, very much so, especially during humid times, it affects doughs and rising a lot. So, pull this up heat a little bit. Those apples, getting a little bit of caramelization on.
yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and just add just a dollop of butter. Not because we're trying to necessarily add fat, we've already got that olive oil in there, that lemon, but butter's gonna contribute some of that flavor, and it's gonna contribute just a little bit to the browning and the overall quality of the dish. So while that's finishing up, go back through kind of these components again and get ready to start building. What do you guys think of that meringue?
That's
really good.
delicious.
It is pretty tasty, isn't it?
That whole thing.
Does anybody else here say trifle and immediately think of friends?
Yeah.
That's all I want to be like, and a layer of beef and peas.
Now, is that always the way dolce de leche is made, or is that kind of considered a shortcut through?
That's total shortcut. That is
Okay.
total like Sarah Lee, Rachel Ray stuff right there.
Alright,
Yeah.
cool.
That said, I've never heard of anyone ever making it other than with the condensed milk. I don't think I've ever heard anyone make it any other way.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not a pastry guy, so if like they are making it, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. Like if this is the way it's done, this
Yeah.
is probably the shortcut, but sometimes shortcut is just, it's
Yeah.
a shortcut for a reason and it works.
And it's so good. I mean, it tastes just like if you've ever bought like dulce de leche with Sonoma or you know somewhere where you buy the fancy looking stuff that you're like, I'm not gonna make that. It tastes exactly the same.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Sour.
Yeah, and it's 79 cents at the grocery store.
On the Great British Bake Off.
They would not be okay with that. Yeah,
Does anybody tell me what spoon this is?
a serving spoon.
The reason why I ask is because I'm a geek chef and I love tools. This is an ice cream spoon. So like I bought some recently, it's got the square tip, so there's a chef that goes into a square-sided pan. You know?
Oh.
Anyway, it's just one of those things, like you geek out on your tools, you know, the trade.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So, let's have some fun. Let's build some desserts here, right?
I'm in.
Let's do it.
I'm here.
So the apples, they cook down, guys. I want to get a chance. I pulled them off the heat, just so that way they cool down just slightly. I don't want any steam or whatever to break down into the meringue or anything.
Right.
We want to be warm. We don't want to be hot. So we're just going to let that kind of cool down to the side for a sec. Let's go ahead and start building. So what I would do I'd start with bread in the bottom. You know, just put a couple of pieces. This is going to absorb any of those flavors, so you kind of want that to be at the bottom.
Okay, and you're gonna push it down, but not like tamp it down.
Exactly, yes. Don't want to leave it to where it's all hanging up, because if so, like, as you see when I first put it in there, like, it was already full. But yeah, just go ahead and then just do a light press in there. And then, let's go ahead and do some of those apples.
I mean, while we're doing this, I think it would only make sense to get some bubbles out, right?
Ooh.
Twist my arm.
I kept looking for different dessert lines, and I wanted to bring out something, you know, just different, something people wouldn't expect. And then I thought, why in God's name would you do that in the middle of hot summer? Bring out bubbles. That's what we want. So I just wanted a lovely prosecco from Trader Joe's, and this is. I'm sorry, I can't pour bubbles and think about anything else at the same time, or else I'm going to spill them everywhere.
No, that's good. You got to concentrate. So let me act like I know something about wine for a second, guys,
Yes.
because I don't. But so, champagne, it's only champagne if it's in the Champagne region of France.
Correct.
What's the dip? Why is Prosecco?
Be-
Because it's not from the Champagne region of France, right?
No, it is not. It is from the Spanish.
No.
Isn't it Spanish?
Italian.
Cabo.
Cabo Spanish. So close.
Right, so it's the Italian champagne, but nobody ever refers to Prosecco as the Italian, as
No, they
the
don't.
champagne.
No.
But I'll tell you what, from my experience though, is Prosecco is so much more approachable than
Yeah.
champagne.
is.
I agree.
It's a little more delicate, like champagne is a little more delicate, I guess is what I'm saying. And this has a little bit more full flavor. And just a hint of sweetness most of the time. Again, I don't like to get too specific with this grape is always going to be that, you know? Or else you find yourself in like, no goddamn Merlot world. And I don't want to be there. So the Prosecco is typically going to have a little bit of hint of sweetness to it, but not anything overt. And this one is going to be lovely and nice, round-bodied and delightful. Perfect for dessert.
And the most important point, what's the price?
Oh, the price, you may ask? $10.99.
Nice.
Wow.
$10.99,
Great
yes.
Cause like Lamarck is one of my favorites, and that's like rarely below 16.
And wait until you have this, because I'm a La Marca girl too.
And
this
are
is-
you about to
I think-
school me to the game?
Blow your
I
mind.
think you might be switching to Trader Joe's after this.
I
Oh
can't
my
wait to
God.
go home and make a can of caramel.
Right?
All of a sudden, you're gonna be on Facebook or on YouTube and stuff making videos. Guys, check this out.
Or Wine Metro Man burned severely. Exploding can of caramel.
Well, guys, we're putting the last of these finishing touches on here. I mean, so this is really where the last bit of it is.
I'm
Getting a
excited.
little bit of that.
This is where the magic
So,
happens?
This is the magic. This is the money shot right here.
It was like ice cream eating that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
It
is.
really was.
By chance, did you guys ever have astronaut ice cream as a kid?
Yes.
I'm looking at that a little bit, but
Yeah.
it was dry and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that was my first attempt at meringue, and then I realized how actual good meringue can be. when it's
Yeah.
done right.
I totally forgot about that.
And so, you gotta have fun with it too. Like, one thing I love is whimsical, and like even tiny little
Yeah.
spoons like that. Especially like when you see like the tiny kitchen or something, everybody loves that stuff. But let's get down on this, guys.
I'm so excited.
Thank you.
Pass one over for me, if you
Yeah.
don't mind.
Oh, wow. Mom, if you're watching, you should be jealous right now.
Yeah, I'm never one who's gonna keep like little jars or anything like that. Like I don't go out and buy dishes for things. So I keep like jam jars and they're an interesting like shape. I keep them to serve dessert in.
Just
Or teacups or things like that. Like I just use those as different vessels
idea.
all the time.
I keep my allspice
Yeah,
ones, I use them for salad dressings for things like this.
absolutely.
Oh, I kind of feel like we should do
A little toast.
a little toast. All right.
Okay.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
guys.
Thank you. This is amazing.
Cheers. Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm ready to say goodbye to the market yet, but
It's up to
$10.99.
$6.99.
Wow.
$6 later, you know, for less, maybe.
Well, I'll be honest, like I wouldn't, if you wouldn't have told me, I wouldn't have known that any of the wines necessarily were value.
Oh my God.
And that's my goal all the time.
It's a little like bread pudding.
But it was a little bit.
Which is like.
You know what, that's a good point, that's I mean, that's really what it kind of, was a reminiscent
Oh my
thing.
God.
Mhm.
Oh my God.
The apples.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And that dulce comes out really good. I mean, there's no
Oh,
secret to
yeah.
it other than the cooking time, you know?
I'm not even a dessert person, and this is like, wow.
So good.
I'm a big dessert person. This is amazing.
Yeah, the banana can taste lemon, all, I mean, it's wonderful.
And I'm getting like just the tiniest hint of salt on that banana bread.
Yes.
Oh.
Good.
It's perfect.
It is, there's a little bit of that Malvern sea salt in there too, just to really make sure
Yes.
that all those flavors are at the forefront. I'm glad you guys picked up on that, yeah.
Wow.
Wonderful. Well, another wonderful meal with Chef Ben. Thank you
Yeah,
so much,
you
and thank you for sharing this with us. And
Your time, your talents, this has been awesome.
yeah,
No, it's been a pleasure having you guys over and kicking it with you. This has been a fun little party, and you know, hopefully you guys can take this back to your own homes and kick it and have some fun too.
I will definitely be making this soon.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please try.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will be trying to help.
Well, I don't know if it'll be quite this,
Dan and I will be enjoying some black Parmesan and a bottle of Cab in the next week or so.
We'll see what I cook, but this is great.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thanks everybody for tuning in again, and we'll see you next week at Kitchen Collage.